What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another House of the Dragon trailer breakdown and reaction. And just for those viewers that want to know, I am not necessarily somebody that has read the book, so I don't know spoilers going forward, so I'm just speculating things that I might see in this trailer and things that I'm guessing are coming forward, but I don't know for sure, so don't spoil them for me. But, you know, comment below the things you're seeing if you're in the same boat as me. But the House of the Dragon recently released some character posters, and we got this one here for Rhaenyra that says "Burn Mercy," and House of the Dragon will be coming back for its season 3 June 21st, so we're less than a month away for this, and they just happened to drop the final trailer today, and I was like not expecting this Friday morning, and was definitely not expecting to do that today, but decided to switch my whole day around. Let's jump into some House of the Dragon because I'm so excited for this show and I really love the series and Game of Thrones and all that, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm a big fan of the universe. So, you know, having some dragons, I'm a big fan of the big old Vhagar there. So we see a little bits of him in this trailer, and yeah, just looks like it's going to be an all-out war this season. But let's not waste any more time, y'all. Let's start jumping into this trailer and picking out what we notice.
These are turbulent times.
Rhaenyra is coming. You're no longer safe here.
So at the end of that, we saw the Blacks landing in King's Landing, so ooh, what I've wanted this whole time, right? Like, Rhaenyra should have been queen this whole time. This all could have been avoided, but Alicent fucked it. Oh, on Viserys' deathbed too, right? Like, we made it all that way. He had been decaying for years, and finally it's time for Rhaenyra to be king, or queen in her case, but Alicent has to screw it. We get Aegon the Terrible. Now we have Aemon One Eye. You know, like, no. We need Rhaenyra back on the throne. But at the start of that clip, we see just a burnt battlefield, and it looks like that's Daemon on top of somebody. It doesn't necessarily recognize the person he's on top of. They don't show a good shot of him. But Daemon is in full mount, just wailing on this guy. And then we see shots of maybe Caraxes, or maybe that's Sea Smoke, or maybe Jace's dragon, as he's flying through the gullet, and, you know, the dragon's taking some shots, and he's, you know, releasing some fire of his own and burning down some of these ships, and the sky's all got, like, smoke from all the fire and all the burning embers and stuff, you know what I mean? So, like, the sky's all hazy. Just a great looking shot in this whole scene, right? And the High Septon we hear saying, "These are turbulent times." And Rhaenyra we then see shots of, and she looks like she's maybe in the war room at, like, the, oh god, it's been a long time since I've seen this show, so I'm forgetting all the names of the places, but we have, like, the Red Keep, Dragonstone. So this looks like she's at Dragonstone, where her base was originally in the series, or, well, where she's been most recently. And then we see shots of the HBO series Returns with some dragons flying in the sky, and it looks like 4 dragons on Team Rhaenyra there, and the sky looks like the battle they maybe have won, and there's just all these burnt ships and the whole sky's hazy. Man, and either this was a cloudy day or the sun is blocked out by all the smoke, you know what I mean? But then Alicent tells Aemon One Eye that Rhaenyra is coming and it is no longer safe at the Red Keep. So they probably peace right before they arrive, as it looks like Rhaenyra, Caraxes, and maybe Vermithor and Silverwing, I think is the names. And those are like Hugh Hammer, the other guy, Ulf, and then Daemon and Rhaenyra flying to take the Red Keep back from the Greens. So yeah, baby, I can't wait to see this. And we see, what is her dragon's name? Sunfire? Something like that. Murlaxes? Something like that. I don't know. Comment below, what is Rhaenyra's dragon's name? But either way, that yellow, beautiful dragon lands on, like, the wall of the Red Keep, and we see a bunch of green soldiers being like, uh-oh. But on to the next portion of this trailer.
Their defeat is written. We'll secure the city without further bloodshed.
The Queen has many dragons, but her subjects do not feel safe, nor should they.
Great little shot at the end there of Vhagar, but we'll get to that. So this clip opens up with, I believe that is Ormond Hightower, and he's riding with his Hightower troops to, you know, ride for Team Green there, and his sister, I believe, and his father would be Otto Hightower, I think. But we hear Rhaenyra saying, their defeat is written, as it looks like Ormond is maybe looking across battlefield at maybe Daemon, is the way that, like, that's cut. But maybe this could be a different shot from the show, but we see Daemon with Caraxes and maybe another dragon behind him, so maybe it's 2 dragons versus the Hightowers here, and Ormond's trying to figure out if he has this battle won or lost. I don't know, 2 dragons versus an army. I think I'm taking the dragons. Even if it was 1 dragon, I think I'm taking the dragon, you know, like, especially if Caraxes, you know, like, that's Daemon's dragon. Like, all the other dragons are kind of like, but him and his dragon are like 2 peas in a pod, you know what I mean? Like, they work well together. But Rhaenyra then says, we'll secure the city, as we see green cloaks and some black cloaks dead in, like, the Red Keep halls as she's standing there as Daemon's, like, pulling his sword out of somebody. And then we see, you know, the aftermath of this with all the green banners falling and the rest of Rhaenyra's crew all there with Sea Smoke, and I believe that's Ulf on the left, or I don't remember the rider's name of Sea Smoke, but he is Alan's brother, who is, like, also Corlys's sons. I don't know. I need to do a nice rewatch of this show, but I feel like I got most of the information in there, but the names and, like, locations and, like, the nitty-gritty of the details is what I'm missing. But that's Game of Thrones, right? Like, there's so many names and they're all, like, similar sounding, and yeah, it's just a crazy universe to be in, really. But Rhaenyra wants to secure the city, but she wants to do it without further bloodshed. And we then see shots of, like, the dragons flying over King's Landing, and lots of dragons. Oh, and all of these people seem to be scared as we hear Corlys saying, the queen has many dragons. As we then cut to shots of, like, the people in the town, Alicent and Helena and their daughter trying to escape through the city as the dragons are arriving. And then we see somebody, like, seeing a dragon flying very low overhead, and the whole crowd gets scared as we hear Corlys saying her subjects do not feel safe, nor should they. And he's not wrong, but then we cut to a more fearsome dragon, and that's Vhagar in maybe Harrenhal or something, absolutely burning the place out. And then that's Aemon One Eye, and then we end that clip with him stabbing somebody and pulling the sword out, and you're just like, oh, brutal stuff. But I love Aemon One Eye as a character, and I love Vhagar, so I really hope the 2 of them get some really cool stuff to do this season as well. But on to the next portion of this trailer.
We see you have been merciful. But the crown is a weight that crushes. You'll do things that spell death for all involved.
Little by little, bite by bite, we are exposing her as weak and unsuited to rule.
Ooh, Queen of Bastards. So it looks like the rightful queen is back, but now the people don't want her as queen. So, But that start of that clip, we hear Alicent saying to Rhaenyra, I see that you have been merciful. And then we see shots of Helena crying, so maybe she loses her other daughter or something. Or maybe she lost Aemond, her kind of brother husband or whatever, or maybe that was Aegon, so maybe she's crying about him, I don't know. But, like, then we see shots of Daemon and Rhaenyra. I love Daemon's, like, new top. I don't know if that's the same outfit that he had in the previous seasons, but this seems like a more embroidered, like, kind of like a dragon skin almost. But yeah, Daemon's such a Matt Smith, what a great actor. But Alicent goes on talking to Rhaenyra saying, but the crown is a weight that crushes. And then we see shots of Alessandra? I don't remember her name. Fuck, the names in this show and universe are so complicated. But this bitch was like Rhaenyra's right-hand person. She's kind of like witchy. She was dealing with Daemon in their earlier seasons. But I think she's with Rhaenyra now, and like they kind of kissed and did some stuff. I don't know. But either way, we then see shots of her kind of looking suspicious. And then we see shots of maybe Rhaenyra opening up a letter that has a green Targaryen signal on it. So maybe this is from Aemon One Eye or Aegon, or possibly more likely Alicent. And then we see shots of Rhaenyra looking at a big old fire and stuff burning behind her as Alicent says, "You'll do things that spell death for all involved." And we see Rhaenyra dreaming maybe about this conversation in her bed, and she, is losing sleep over this, as we then cut to shots about all that are involved and all the soldiers dead at, her will, and then we see a bunch of different banners fighting, and not necessarily banners I recognize. Maybe that's a Baratheon there in the yellow, but Tully and the fish, but I don't recognize the tree with the two ravens next to it. Interesting. But then we cut to a shot of them like at the Great Hall at like a great dinner with Rhaenyra at the end of the table and everybody else here, probably looking for her to lead them, or maybe she's trying to make sure that everybody's still loyal. But then Ormond Hightower says, "Bite by bite, we are exposing her as weak and unsuited to rule," as she's walking through her subjects in the town, and they're not seeming very happy. And on one of the walls it says "Queen of Bastards," right? Because the strong boys were bastards, they're not necessarily Targaryen boys, and it's very easy to tell because they have jet black hair instead of the white. Ooh, uh-oh. But still, she still has kids with Daemon, so those are not bastards, right? But where are those babies? We don't know. I guess we'll find out. But on to the next portion of this trailer.
My enemies have been allowed to muster their strength.
She'll certainly fail. And we raise our own throne.
Ooh, there was a new character at the end of that short little clip there, but I love that Rhaenyra, and it looks like maybe Daemon's looking at that Queen of Bastards on the wall, and he's all pissed off about her. He's looking at something with great interest, so maybe he's being haunted by Alice Rivers' memories or whatever. Her, she's a witch, she's doing crazy stuff, so maybe that's what's going on here. But then, we hear Rhaenyra saying, "My enemies," and it cuts to a shot of a bald guy with soot all over his face. I don't necessarily recognize him from the previous seasons. But Rhaenyra goes on saying, "My enemies have been allowed to muster their strength," as she's talking to one of Daemon's daughters before marrying her with the previous wife. And then we see her making like a chess move on the board, as we then see it looks like Caraxes flying over this road. So maybe Daemon's out there, freelance and doing his own thing and not listening to Rhaenyra's orders. That sounds like Daemon. But then we see Rhaenyra sleeping in bed, and she sits up as Aemon Targaryen says, "She'll certainly fall." And he's talking to now his own troops that he has, and maybe he's gone to like the barbarians, it looks like, or maybe those are like House Stark people. I do see a Stark shield in the background there, but he's talking to this woman who has like black over her eyes. She kind of looks badass, and he says that we'll raise our own throne. But maybe this is actually a different cut, because I thought this was Aemon talking to her, but now that I'm looking more closely, that's actually Daemon talking to her. So who is this woman, and what she's got to do with Daemon? But either way, we then see, some older gents all rallying, a horse rearing up as a dragon flies overhead. But then at the very end of that shot, we see a shot of a Viking-looking man who... I don't remember his name. Not the character's name, the actual actor's name now, I don't remember. But the actor I know from things like he was in Gladiator. He was like, if you know, he was the character in Gladiator that's like very, very loyal to Russell Crowe's Maximus. But he's also the leader of the Irish mob, the Flynns in Power Book 4 Force. If you guys know that TV show, he was really good in that as well, with Tommy Egan, my guy. But on to the next portion of this trailer.
In a war, all suffer.
Come so far, and yet you still don't know who you are.
Oof. So we hear Daemon saying, "In a war, all suffer." And we see just shots of Daemon riding up with his forces, and he's on horseback, and you see Caraxes way in the background. But, it looks like Daemon's mustering up troops and really being a general for this war. And it looks like the High Towers on their other side, and the Greens, and they're knocking their bows and loosing some arrows, as we then see shots of, I think that is Alicent's other brother, and he's swinging a sword, maybe killing somebody, slicing a neck or something. We see more of the Battle of the Gullet and burning ships and everything blowing up and burning. Yeah, no, that battle is going to start the season. I think the first episode is going to be gnarly and just brutal stuff. But we then see all those Viking guys charging, you know, the high towers charging, you know, loosing their arrows, loosing rocks and just catapulting stuff into battle. We see Corlys looking absolutely distraught as he's like looking out into the battle and there's fire behind him. And we hear Daemon saying to Rhaenyra, "You've come so far and yet you still don't know who you are." As we then see shots of Aemon One Eye fighting somebody, and then Kristen Cole all covered in soot and mud, and he's in the middle of the battlefield. And, you know, Rhaenyra, as he says, "And you still don't know who you are." She's looking at the dragon pit. This actually might be Balerion the Black Dread's skull in the little caverns underneath the Red Keep. Now that she's home, you know, she can go to where her and her father had that conversation in season 1, and her and Alicent had the conversation, I think, in season 2 at the same location. But if that's where she is here, you know, she's like puzzling, like, who am I? Who did you want me to be? Did you want me to be Kinslayer and the queen who killed all? Or, you know, is she supposed to find them a way back to peace? But we also see a badass Viking-looking chick killing somebody on a ship. And then we see like a dark, like ravens or bats flying as somebody's in like a cloaked dark area and he's like crouching down. My first instinct thoughts are like, this is Daemon and Alice Rivers and she's doing some more haunting. Or maybe Daemon left Harrenhal and then Aemon One Eye comes in and then maybe Alice Rivers haunts Aemon One Eye. I could see that as well. But there's only one more portion of this trailer, so let's finish this bad boy out.
Have you not betrayed your queen? Bring Aegon, the usurper, to me.
Did I not warn you that you would come to this?
Oh, it looks so good, guys. It just really looks so good. But we cut back and we see Rhaenyra in, well, I'm guessing it's Rhaenyra, and she's like pulling the tarp off of like her father's little model of King's Landing that he made. He was very big, fond, you know, he was constantly working on this like little mock village or whatever. And it looks like it's maybe tipped over some of the things, but she's pulling the tarp off, so she's like trying to bring back the memory of Viserys. But she's also seems to be a little distraught, trying to figure out who she is. And she's like, "Have you not betrayed your queen?" as she addresses her people. And, you know, she seems like she's in the middle of tears as she says it. And then she says, "Bring Aegon, the usurper, to me." As we then see shots of Vhagar dragging a toe in the water, just looking like an absolute unit. And then we see a dragon egg and somebody's got her hand on it. So maybe that's going to be another dragon that hatches in the future. And maybe a future season or something. I don't know. But then as she says, "Bring Aegon the usurper," we see shots of Aegon, I believe, in the middle of the forest somewhere. And maybe they've tracked him down and found him. And he's looking up like, "No, I thought I got away from these dragons. It's back." You know, like, oh God. But we then see shots of one of Daemon's other daughters, and she has to be going to find Sheepstealer, some other dragon, I think we last left off seeing her. So maybe she's about to like see Sheepstealer right above her, or maybe the cannibal. Ooh, that'd be interesting. But, you know, Rhaenyra is asking them to bring Aegon the usurper to her, and we see her standing in like her throne room or something, and maybe she's having like a flashback memory looking at the bed, because I think this is maybe Viserys's room that he died in. So maybe she's like remembering seeing her father there in the bed, but now it's empty. I don't know, but that's kind of what that shot reminded me of for some reason. But then we see a shot of like a cave and some figure getting lit up by a glowing flame in the distance. So, uh-oh, some big dragon is in these caves here. And then we see somebody standing as there's a bunch of fire burning them, or maybe, yeah, they dropped their swords, so that's got to be somebody getting burned alive by a fire. And the way that they just put the camera in the middle of it, that's either CGI fire, or they did that shit for real, and they just got like a fireproof camera or something, I don't know. But that's a cool looking shot. And then we get Alicent, and she's like covering her mouth, maybe clutching her pearls at all the death that she's looking at. And then we see shots of Damon, and he's got blood on his face, and there's just smoke all around him, so maybe he's looking at the aftermath of this war as well, as we then see shots of the battle and both sides just ramming each other at full speed, and you know, the big circle of troops closing in on each other around this area. And you know, as soon as they close in, a dragon's gonna come through and just torch them all, regardless of what side they're on. Oof. Brutal stuff, this universe. But then we see, it looks like Jace, Rhaenyra's son, the strong boy there, and he's on his dragon, but it's a smaller dragon. And this shot just makes me nervous, because it does look like he's flying along, but he's not paying attention, like he's looking back, and then a big old fireball comes shooting past them in camera. Uh-oh, man, I don't think that this season opener is going to be very good for Jace. Oh, I'm nervous, man, I'm nervous. But then we cut to black. But then Alicent Hightower says to Rhaenyra, I did warn you that you would come to this, right? So that she would be the queen of blood and war, and I don't know. I don't remember exactly what Alicent said to her, but she did warn her. And Rhaenyra looks absolutely pissed and kind of a little evil at the end of this. Like, she is the arbiter of blood. She is the mad king. You know, like, I don't know. That's what I'm picturing here, though. She's, ooh, dramatic, dark music plays as they pan from above her down below her. That's just a nice shot, too. But then it cuts to black as we get the dramatic music, and the golden Targaryen sigil just fades into the smoke, and then House of the Dragon comes out June 21st, only on HBO Max. Oh, I cannot wait for this. It looks so good. I just can't get over how friggin' much that this just looks like it's going to be a bloody, gory, brutal season. It's going to be ashy, right? Like, there's going to be lots of burning, lots of fire, lots of death, I think, in this season. I think they're going to open up with the Battle of the Gullet. That might even be 2 episodes, right? Like, it might be such a big battle that they can't get it done in 1 episode, right? And maybe they start cutting around. So they do the battle, they cut to Rhaenyra, they cut to Daemon, they cut back to the battle, you know, they cut to Alicent, you know, they show what's going on, and then the second episode maybe they finish the battle. But it's also Game of Thrones, so I wouldn't be surprised if they give us the whole battle, episode 1, they end on a massive death. And that should have been the ending of last season, but instead they're starting this season with it. So then the rest of the season has to be absolute chaos. But I have heard from somebody, that a commenter, that there is going to be a season 4, that this isn't the end. But I don't know, man. I feel like this season, by the finale, it could lead up to, like, the conclusion of this story. You know, I don't see a way that, like, Vhagar and Daemon, you know, like Daemon One Eye and Daemon, I don't see a way that they don't clash at some point, you know, at Harrenhal, or maybe back at the Red Keep or something. Maybe a bunch of civilians end up getting burned in the middle of this battle. I have no idea, man, but all I know is that Vhagar, like, as much as I hate the Greens, oh, Vhagar, baby. They got a big old boy, or girl, actually. They got a big old girl on that side of things, and Vhagar is not to be fucked with, man. I mean, they're going to need at least 4 dragons to take down Vhagar. Like, they had, I think, 2-on-1, and they still lost against Vhagar, and poor friggin', oh, the queen who never was last season. I still remember you. That's, like, one of the most memorable things from season 2, is that brutal death of Rhaenys in Merlis, I think, is her dragon and her. And, yeah, they died by way of Vhagar, and that fucking big dragon just likes to kill other dragons. That's a cannibal dragon, right? Well, if she ate it, but what do they call somebody that kills their own kind but doesn't eat it? I don't know. Comment below. There's got to be some term for that out there. He's not a cannibal, but it's like it's a kinslayer. It's a dragon slayer. I don't know. There's a word for it. Comment below. Are you excited for House of the Dragon Season 3? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd also love to hear, because, you know, real book fans, apparently George R.R. Martin and the showrunner for this show are not on good terms. Apparently this third season in, like, the books are very, very different, you know? So at a certain point, I feel like the shows have to do what they have to do. But if it's not your material and there is books out there that are good and best-selling books, why would you not follow the director's, you know, the original author's vision of this? Like, I understand George is probably an older man and his vision isn't quite what the world's idea of entertainment is, but the guy wrote an incredible universe, right? Like, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is as spot on to the books as it can be, and it's still wildly successful. So there's no reason that you have to change it to be successful, you know? Like, I don't know. I mean, comment below. Are there any people out there that don't like House of the Dragon because it's not George's vision and it's not the books? I'd still think that that's a valid opinion out there. And you don't have to share the same sentiments I did. If you have different thoughts, that's perfectly fine. Drop them down in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation about House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I really loved A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I mean, I'm still somebody that's clamoring to get Game of Thrones Season 9. And, you know, maybe they completely retcon it and just forget all about Season 8 and then they kind of redo it, right? Like, I heard an idea the other day that, like, what if Season 9 opens with Bran opening his eyes and it was all just a dream that Bran had and now he's got to prepare for the real fight, right? Like, I think people would get behind that. As much as they don't like the ending of Season 8, I think they would get behind a kind of rebooted Season 9 and then do it again. But, you know, that's very messy, it's complicated, right? I think they could get away with it, but I don't think they have the balls to do it, you know? So if there is ever going to be a Season 9, maybe it's a Jon Snow show that they were trying to continue for many years, but the way that they ended the Game of Thrones show, Jon's just on the wall doing nothing again. Like, they kind of fucked his story up, the whole story. So now nobody wants to continue Game of Thrones. Nobody wants to continue Jon Snow's story. And they're just like, okay, let's go to the past, right? Like, I don't know. I think there's still some meat on the bone for Jon Snow in that story, and I would like to see it continue on. But I would love to hear your thoughts about this down in the comment section below, or you can send them to my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. But if you've made it this far and you would like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is liking this video, commenting down below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future House of the Dragon videos, and breakdowns for this will be coming in June. So stay tuned, folks, and all the Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon fans out there. If you enjoy this type of breakdown for trailer reactions, or if you like this stuff in general, there is breakdowns for House of the Dragon Season 1 and 2 already up on the channel, and breakdowns for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So go check those out, and I highly appreciate y'all. And once again, my name is Big Cam, and I'll see you guys in the next video.